I am planning to start off so we can just relax a little bit and get into this. I've got a little film show to play for you. It's only 4 minutes long, so it's nothing that's going to be too in-depth. But it's a short video that's come out from UK government and covers some of the topics that I want to pick up on today. And it's done in a very straightforward form. There will be a couple of occasions where I'll just pause the video because there'll be some information on the screen that I want to make further comment about. So the thing itself will last just over 4 minutes. There's then some areas I want to kind of talk about, particularly around import and export and customs procedures. But I don't want to get into the real technicalities of this. That's not what this session is about this morning. It's try and involve you and just open up a broader discussion, almost if you can, an imaginary round table, if you like, where people, can reflect on some of the experiences and maybe some of the concerns that they've got, some worries that people might, if not through the chamber, other people might have experienced things already that they can relate their experience to. So I think that's given chance for one or two latecomers to get settled in. As I said, I do know a lot of people on the call already. For those who are meeting for the first time, as it says on the screen, my name's Andrew Denniff. I'm the Chief Exec of Barnsley and Rotherham Chamber. I have my colleague Diane with me, and I know Diane's familiar to a lot of people. And hopefully we'll be managing the behind the scenes stuff. I see she's already taking a call from somebody who's probably not been able to get logged on this morning. So I think without further ado, what I'm going to do is share my screen. If people, I think everybody is on mute. If you've got a problem picking this one up, you'll have to shout out. And as I say, it's literally a short film, but I'm going to stop it on a couple of occasions because there are some things on the screen which I just want to refer to. Once the film's finished, I'm going to then talk a little bit and we can open up a broader discussion. Everybody comfortable? Is that what you imagined you were signing up for this morning, or has anybody got anybody either in the wrong Zoom meeting or here with an entirely different agenda? Right, I'm going to just do the difficult bit now and just try and share my screen with you, which hopefully, right, can everybody see what's on the screen now? If somebody can just unmute and shout yes, that would help.
No.
No, there's nothing on the screen that people can see at the moment. No?
No.
Right, that's not a particularly good start then, because I'm sharing a screen and it's
That's better.
Is that can you see something that now says keep your business moving?
Yes.
Right, I'm going to start playing this. If anybody's got a problem actually hearing it, let me know. Otherwise, I'm just going to run through this. And as I said, I'm going to stop it on a couple of occasions when we get to a couple of points I want to make comment on. So if everybody's sitting comfortably, just sit back and watch this for 4 minutes and then we'll talk afterwards. Okay?
Doing business with Europe has changed. The UK has left the European Union, the single market, and the customs union, and has agreed a new trade and cooperation agreement with the European Union. To keep your business moving, you will need to follow new rules on areas including exports, imports, tariffs, data, and hiring staff. This website from UK government provides video explainers to help your business understand what to do to adjust to the new rules resulting from our new relationship with the European Union. The United Kingdom and the European Union have agreed a trade and cooperation agreement governing future trade relations from the 1st of January 2021. The agreement changes the basis of our relationship with our European neighbours from EU law to free trade and friendly cooperation. As part of the agreement, businesses will be able to continue to trade smoothly with their customers in the EU. There are no tariffs or quotas on trading goods between the UK and the EU, and people can continue to buy goods from Europe tariff-free. We have secured continued market access across key services sectors, including professional and business services. Business travellers will be able to move easily between the EU and the UK for short-term visits, and we have an agreement on rules on moving goods into, out of, and through Northern Ireland. As a result of this new relationship with the European Union, doing business with Europe has changed, and this means there will be new rules for businesses to follow. You should take action to ensure your business has made the necessary changes to adapt to these new rules. Changes will cover various areas of business, including the way you trade, import and export, the Northern Ireland Protocol, that covers how Northern Irish businesses will maintain unfettered access to the UK internal market, what you need to do to comply with regulations on manufactured goods you place on the market, how you hire staff from overseas, and the way you provide services in EU countries. To keep your businesses moving and check what you need to do differently, visit the Videos by Topic tab, which is visible at the top of your screen, to understand the actions your business needs to take on topics including importing and exporting, hiring overseas staff, data, and regulations, and many more.
I'm going to pause it there. Can everybody still hear me? If somebody could just acknowledge, that would be useful, because I'm just looking at a shared screen at the moment. Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you. Yeah.
Thank you. I've just paused it there because what we're watching is a short video that's just come out this week from central government, from the Cabinet Office. And you'll see at the bottom of the page the government.uk transition website in effect. And this is an introductory video, the one we're watching, but there are a number of others which are now listed on the screen, which relate to certain aspects of the new arrangement, or indeed to particular sectors that you might be operating in. All these are available free, and all you have to do is log on to the gov.uk/transition, register yourself with them, and then you'll be able to access this whole host of videos, including the one we're watching at the moment, which is the initial preparation one. But you can access any of those videos just by registering at the gov.uk transition page. So don't feel as if you can't get access to this information. All these videos are about 3, 4, 5 minutes in length. Okay, thank you. We'll move on.
If your business operates in one of the sectors listed here on this slide, you can visit the Videos by Sector tab to find a prioritised list of videos relevant to businesses in your industry.
So again, with this one, they're giving an example here of a variety of sectors. There are others. And again, if you go onto the same website and identify there when you're registering which sector you're operating in or which sector you have interests in, it will guide you through a series of simple tick box questions to various aspects of the regulations that you need to be aware of. And indeed, it will bring up some of those videos that we saw on the previous page that are actually relevant to your particular sector. So what the government are doing here, and right from the start, they've really been stressing the fact that the emphasis is on you as the business to take the initiative to find out. You've probably picked that up from a lot of the government advertising that was done before the end of the year, and certainly from a lot of the advertising that's done now. They're really putting the ball well and truly in your court, saying the emphasis is on you to find out. So some of the information that you need will be available through these particular sources. And again, we can make this presentation available to you directly after this session, or indeed simply go onto the gov.uk site. Okay.
Businesses in all sectors can use the Brexit checker tool on gov.uk to get a personalised list of actions to take. Links to the checker tool and to other helpful guidance and resources can be found by clicking on the Resources tab found at the top of your screen. Businesses have already made huge strides to get ready. With the comprehensive free trade deal now agreed, your business should review the materials available here and at gov.uk/transition to check how the new rules affect you. This will help you make any final preparations and keep your business moving. The time to successfully comply with the new rules can take longer than you think, so you need to take action now. Doing business.
Right, so I think if I stop sharing, come out of that. I think we're back to normal now, are we? Can you all see me now? Is that
Yes.
good?
Yeah.
Okay, I hope that was useful and made sense. What it does tell you is that there is an amount of information available directly, but what it also emphasises is what I said earlier, that government have been very much on, in my view, this is not going to be a discussion about whether Brexit's right, wrong, or was the right decision. We've gone through that now. So this is about how we can adapt to the circumstances we find ourselves in. And the government have been very much on the back foot from my particular perspective, saying to businesses, it's up to you to find out. What we've been doing as a Chamber of Commerce, certainly from probably about March last year, although obviously everything that's happened with lockdown kind of put a lot of that on hold till about September, October time. But we've been running a series of webinars, briefing sessions, similar to the one we're all sat in this morning. We're also got a number of training courses which are available to members, businesses, particularly in Barnsley and Rotherham, that relate to some aspects of this. And all the training courses, and I'm going to ask Diane if she can share her screen and put up a single slide, because it will give you some idea. All these training courses are provided fully funded. They're all free of charge. So just to give you an example, and this is just a flavour, because these are some of the areas I'm going to go on and talk about. But you will see literally from next week, we've got a training course on export documentation, the week after on importing, because there are certain procedures now that are brand new for businesses, particularly if you are importing goods from the European Union, declarations, etc., etc. All these courses are fully funded because we've got an arrangement with Barnsley and Rotherham Council. I have to say, and I've got to caveat this, but at the moment, although we are having some discussions with our colleagues across the region, they're only available if you are a Barnsley and or Rotherham business. If you're a Sheffield business or a Doncaster, or you're even outside the South Yorkshire area, by all means give us a call, contact us at the Chamber of Commerce, and we will try and make some arrangements where we can get some funding. Obviously, as you would expect, as Barnsley and Rotherham Chamber, our priority is there, and our funding arrangements are with the two local authorities in both Barnsley and Rotherham. So if you're a Barnsley or Rotherham business and you've either personally want to do any of this training, or you've got any of your staff, all of the training is accredited, and you will get certified for attending that. And you will obviously get certain qualifications and the ability and skill set to do some of the things that are now required under the new system. But everything that you see in front of you and more is available, fully funded. It's free of charge at the moment, but only if you're a Barnsley or Rotherham business. Any questions? Neil, you've put your hand up. I'll just leave that on the, ask Guy to leave that on that screen for a while. But Neil,
yeah,
you wanna...
would it be possible for Dan to email that list out, or is it available on your website to download? I'd like to distribute that to a few colleagues.
Well, I think Guy, without jumping in, I think everything's on the website. Certainly all those training courses are on there.
Great.
You can register online. I'm quite happy just to send that simple one slide out to everybody that's on this one, just as a matter of course. But all the information is on the website. Gaynor, who is our training lady, her details are at the bottom there. You want to have a conversation with Gaynor. But what I'm saying is everything funded if you're in Barnsley and Rotherham. I make no apologies for Sheffield and Doncaster, but obviously there are other chambers that have their own arrangements in those parts of the region, although we're quite happy to take people on our courses. And if we can get some additional funding through the city region for Sheffield or Doncaster businesses, we'll try and get that for you. But there's no good me guaranteeing that at this stage, because I simply can't promise that. We'll try and get that if we're approached by businesses outside of Barnsley and Rotherham.
Yeah, that's fine, Andrew. We're based in
Yeah, well, you'll be fine. NG will be fine. And I think most people on this call will fit into that category. But okay, I'll keep talking. What I want to do now is just quickly, and if people are prepared, if they can put their hand up, I am conscious there are some people on this call who are exporting, whose businesses have been involved, obviously both before Christmas and now in this new world that we're in. I'm just wondering if anybody might be prepared to feed into the discussion any immediate experiences they've had in terms of dealing with products or services going abroad, or indeed importing into this country, because the areas that are really affected is there's a totally new import process, and there are legal obligations now for those people bringing in product from the European Union, which simply weren't there before. One thing that has changed without a shadow of a doubt is that everything now needs extra paperwork. Up to the end of the year, if you were dealing with European Union, you could move goods freely across the border and very little paperwork, if any, was involved. That has now completely changed. And unfortunately, with paperwork comes bureaucracy and red tape, there comes delays, and dare I say, with paperwork comes extra cost to the business. So, as I say, I don't know if anybody's prepared to open up and maybe relate any experiences they've already had, because that's really what I want. Ram, you just quickly raise your hand. You want
very
to
quickly, we importing active ingredients from Switzerland, from Lonza,
right,
which is part of EEA. Never ever has been an issue. Now suddenly we have to have a clearing agent involved, where before normally it's been a direct company to company transaction. Now we have to involve a clearing agent. So yes, there are changes, but fortunately for the export side, where 80% of our business is export, right? Not just to the EU, all over the world. So we're just having to do the documentation that we were, example, with export to Australia. Now we're having to do the same documents to export to Germany. It's as simple as that. So there's not a lot else to be said, but it just created a lot more, and we have to go, just gonna make the best of it and get on with it.
Well, yes, and it's not to be unexpected, because dare I say, that's what people voted for, to be blunt about it. Mark, I'm really pleased you put your hand up, because I know you have a lot of dealings on the continent and across worldwide as well. So what kind of experiences have you been picking up on?
The main thing we picked up on is that the majority of UK hauliers were ready for the transition. Certainly hauliers that were already working internationally. What we have found, where we've got customer collect, the European hauliers just thought this was a UK thing. So the UK had to do everything, and the majority of European hauliers were not ready, no paperwork in place and everything like that. So we've had some real difficult situations where we've got hauliers here picking goods up and they haven't got the paperwork to be able to then get through the customs clearance and everything. So that's been a particular issue to us. We worked with the hauliers certainly the first week to sort all that out. I think being now in week 3, we're a little bit further on, and hopefully not seeing as many issues. And then the only other thing we stored our product in a sales subsidiary in Italy. So that was our stock. We've had to change that now because of fiscal rules and customs clearance issues as well. So
Yeah.
we're now doing an intercompany transaction for that rather than selling to the customer in Italy and using warehousing in Italy.
Yeah, yeah, and that's the thing. It's not just one way. This is both ways. And I think the one thing that's certainly come out in the first couple of weeks I've had feedback is the European end of it was even less prepared than the UK end, because suddenly realised that they've got to do extra stuff as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
They thought the emphasis was entirely on the UK. Well, unfortunately, it works both ways, to put it bluntly.
Yeah. Yeah, that's certainly what we found as well, Andrew.
Neil, I'm not going to put you on the spot, Neil, but you're obviously involved with a French-owned operation at NG, and that obviously not only involves the movement of probably goods and services, but also some staff as well. And we saw in the short presentation there are implications for EU citizens working in the UK, and again vice versa, UK citizens working in the European Union. Have you picked up on any impact on NG's business?
In the short term, no, because we're not allowed to move anyway because of the COVID restrictions. So there's zero movement of staff across borders. In fact, there's zero movement of staff from the end of our road, to be honest. So we can't. We haven't come up against that, but that's why I'm interested in those courses, and I shall be distributing them certainly amongst our local directors and give them the opportunity to distribute it more widely to start raising awareness. For us, the main issue is more mundane, and that's skill shortages. The level of European workers is noticeably reducing in the construction industry. Is reducing rapidly, particularly as we are looking to tool up for the external wall insulation market as government funding starts to come on stream now. The already prices are starting to rise because of skill shortages. So that's the main impact of Brexit for us at the moment. Once people start to get vaccinated and we start to increase that movement, then I think people are going to have to make sure that there are 9 months left on the passports and all the other things that you've got to do. So yes, those courses I think are going to be valid, particularly for us, the movement of labour and potentially also the import of goods. So some construction materials come in, particularly bricks and blocks are made on the continent. And some specialist equipment too. So those courses will also be of interest, and I'm going to make sure that our buyers are aware of those.
I think just again, without, and I don't want to be here labouring the point around just training courses. The ones that we put up there are just a flavour. There are other courses that relate to particularly around HR stuff, and if you're employing staff and that kind of thing. The ones that we put on that particular slot were around the practical movement of goods, so the import stuff, the export processing, the customs regulations and the compliance that people need to be doing in terms of the paperwork. There is a whole host of other training that is available, Neil, and anybody else on the call.
I think the perception amongst the business generally is that because we're a contractor operating in the UK, that it's not going to apply to us. But I think that's incorrect. I think that the people, my colleagues have got to realise that we are importing goods. There will be implications for probably senior staff going to Paris for reporting purposes, so again we need to be prepared. So I think this morning is excellent, and I shall be using it as a trigger to communicate with colleagues at senior level to make sure that we are prepared, particularly once the COVID restrictions start to be lifted.
Yeah. Well, I think that you picked up a point there, which has become very apparent certainly it was apparent to me very early on in this process that there were a lot of businesses, and we've already heard that maybe even the ones based on the continent, that didn't think this was going to impact on them, didn't think that they were going to be affected by it, A, because they didn't export or import, or B, because they just didn't think changes in regulations and compliance applied to them, or indeed it would have any impact on them. Well, I think the bottom line on it is that just about every business is going to be impacted on this in some way, shape or form, whether it's through because you're involved some way down into this supply chain. You might not directly be involved in trading and exporting, but that has a knock-on effect on the supply chain. It has a knock-on effect with possibly some of your clients. You know, just looking at some of the people on the call, you'll be dealing with clients that, whilst you yourselves don't have any dealings internationally, your clients will have, and that will have an impact potentially on how they do business, or indeed the amount of business they do with you. So again, I mean, we've heard from 3 or 4 people already. Does anybody else want to kind of reflect on some of the experiences they've had?
About certificates of origin.
Yeah.
So you're quite correct in saying where you're contributing a component to another supplier where they're manufacturing a product, that then has the certificate of origin impacts of what percentage is manufactured in a specific country. So that has a major impact. We're in the medical side of the business, and unfortunately we had no option. We've had to open our own office in Dublin, because under the medical device regulations, you have to have an authorized representative within the EU. So who do we trust to hold all of our technical data, product formulations, master plant files for manufacturing? The simple answer was no one. So we opened our own office. Yeah. And obviously that has a cost implication there as well. And then, as well as registered with MHRA in this country, we have to register with HPRA in Ireland. Yeah. And then we want to carry on doing business in Europe. We have to do the registrations with UDAMED. It's no option.
Yeah, well, some of those acronyms, well, I don't know what they are, but I think people can work out. They're obviously organisations that operate in your particular sector, Ram. But
yes,
you just mentioned Ireland there, which again, as people have no doubt picked up in the media, that Ireland is a very interesting case, particularly where Northern Ireland fits into the grand scheme of things. And actually being in Ireland, whether you're north or south of the border, has some potential advantages, but also there are some, some issues for people. I mean, I've talked to my colleagues.
Burden on reporting.
Well, exactly. I've talked to my colleagues.
Northern Ireland still remains in the EU.
Well, it does technically. Technically, yes. And certainly speaking to my colleagues in Belfast in the Northern Ireland Chamber, they've had a tremendous amount of additional work to really just keep things ticking over. I mean, even as a business ourselves, as a Chamber of Commerce, and some of you on the call will be familiar with the export documentation service that we provide. In fact, some of you may even use the export documentation service that we provide. And that's a significant part of our operation. We've now got 5 members of staff that we've had to upgrade with their qualification so that we can cope with what has been the additional workload, and indeed what we expect to be additional workload as we get further into this. Because I think the experience we've had the first couple of weeks of the new year is that it's a little bit of a lull before the storm. People are catching the breath a little bit. There was a rush before Christmas to get stuff out, and that created additional work. We've noticed that things are now beginning to pick up. We had a couple of our ladies who do export docs working till 6:30 on Friday night, just to get the backlog down. But our expectation is probably to increase our own workload by about 45%, because in simple terms, 45% of stuff leaving South Yorkshire, and particularly that goes through our export documentation process, goes to the European Union. So that will all now need new documents doing, and indeed create extra workload for us. have to say, obviously, we charge for that, so that's some useful extra income for us, but we are doing a commensurate amount of work to back that up. And one of the areas we've been talking about internally at the chamber is this week, if we're looking at bringing extra bodies into the business, it's going to be on that export international trade service side of the business that we'll have to look at first, because that's where the demand is. And as a business, the impact it's having on us. So if that's impacting us on that in that way, I'm sure there are many other people, many other businesses that surely, simply just through the administration process, are going to have to look at extra workload, either for the staff they've already got, or potentially bringing in new staff to do it. The problem with that is that the jobs that we do, you have to be properly qualified and have the right skill set to do it. So you can't just bring somebody in on a Monday and say, there you are, get on with it. It takes at least, given a fair wind, 3 months to get somebody properly qualified to do what we require of them. So it becomes a medium to longer term investment. And that might be good from an employment point of view, but obviously it's putting extra pressure on the business, which is in a very difficult place, like everybody else is at the moment. So, if people are experiencing those kind of issues just as we are, I can understand the extra pressure it brings, particularly when budgets are tight and we have all the other added pressures of lockdown, etc. Right, is there any? I'm just looking around. Is anybody else wants to comment on? Is there anybody who's had a client that's been impacted this and that's then had a knock-on effect to your business? I'm just looking around. Who can I pick on next? Steve, you do a lot. Steve runs a business called Science Express in Rotherham. You do a lot of business. You've got a lot of local clients. Have you had? I'm sorry to put you on the spot, but have you had any issues in terms of your clients either pulling back on the amount of work that they did put through with you, or indeed increasing the amount of work they're doing with you?
Hi, Andrew. Yes, interesting point. You're quite right. We cross over every business sector because every business has a sign or graphic of some sort. And we also work not only with local companies, but public bodies, private, large companies, domestic, international. So, we're a very good barometer of the sort of effects that changes in the economy have. At the moment, we're not really seeing any change that's affected us directly. Last year, we suffered significant raw materials increases because a lot of the raw materials come through Europe. But that was mainly to do with uncertainty and exchange rate problems. But since the beginning of January, we haven't experienced anything. But having said that, there's been so much noise in the data as a result of disruption due to COVID and such like that. It's very difficult for us to separate one effect from another, if you see what I mean.
Yes, yeah, no.
We are having. We're dealing at the moment with a large project with an international leisure company whose head office is in the Netherlands. And that has now just become a little bit more difficult and more confusing because they have relationships with their, they own a lot of leisure parks in the UK, let's put it that way. And so they have but the leisure parks are privately owned who work under the umbrella of this international leisure organization. And so the relationship between the international leisure company and the leisure parks has now become different. And that started to have an effect on us in trying to sort of work with them to do a rebrand. So it's a lot of sort of internal complications as to who pays for what and so on and so forth. So it has affected us in that case. It's a very big project and it's being, significantly delayed and confused. But in the short term, other than that, we haven't really noticed anything. But as I say, it's difficult to tell because of all the disruption with everything else. We have had materials shortages, but that's also because of an increased demand for things like acrylic screens due to COVID. So it's very difficult to analyse just now, but we'll wait and see.
I mean, Ram was saying earlier about, you know, the changes in delivery time, getting stuff just in from Switzerland, which was, they've never been in the European Union, but obviously they've got to go through the European Union to get here, and all the extra work that's involved there. So
No. Switzerland is part of EEA.
yeah, that's right, but they've never been in the
Economic
European Union,
So
have they?
as far as product coming from Switzerland, it's exactly the same as coming from the EU.
Yeah.
Because Switzerland has to take on all of the EU laws, right, and conditions, but has no vote.
Which,
Right,
which
at
is
EU
not
level.
the arrangement we have, is it?
Correct.
Yeah, that's
But
right.
now we're out with Brexit. So, but anything coming from any country, whether it's EEA or EU, right, is all encompassed as EU. So there's going to be import side. We're going to have agents involved, which is extra costs again and delays. So it's not a straightforward where it's door-to-door delivery before. And also,
Yeah,
example,
I understand.
our distributors that are buying the finished product and selling it in their country, we've done registrations at a European level. Now we've even got our EU rep office in Dublin. Even with all that, they still have to conduct more registrations in their own country to be able to carry on selling our products. If they don't conduct the registrations, they then have to stop selling. This is absolutely crazy, but unfortunately, that's the legality of Brexit and what it encompasses.
Okay. Just again, I'm just trying to get a kind of a broader perspective on this. And Mark, I'm not going to probably putting you again on the spot here, Mark. But Mark's.
I'm still here.
I'm actually talking to Mark. Sorry, I've got two Marks.
Yep.
Mark Smith, can you hear me on this one? No, he can't unmute. I've just really, I'll come back to the other Mark then, if you don't mind, Mark Scanlon, and just to get a perspective from the outside looking in. Obviously, you deal globe with clients and businesses. What are you picking up any perspective from them as to what they think of us, if you know what I mean, and how they view what the UK is doing and how that's going to impact on how they operate, either with you specifically or generally?
Yeah, I mean, certainly. I mean, just we are a Swiss-owned company, and all through this process, the emphasis is being put on the UK doing everything. Where and 2 years ago, I highlighted very, very clearly to all our European partners and further afield, so the group we operate globally, that the impacts of Brexit are not just on the UK. They were on everybody. Everybody within our network would be affected in some way, whether that's trying to get parts shipped through Europe to the UK, or whether we're exporting or importing. We were lucky in the fact that we already imported from Switzerland. So we have products manufactured in Switzerland. So we'd already got the import and everything with that side of things fixed. We knew about that. But it's all the way through, Andrew. It's always been the focus that this is the UK's problem. They have to sort it all the way through.
Which, as we're finding out, it is not just the UK's problem, is it? It's everybody's problem. Like the fact that it's the UK that's leaving the European Union, that has a wider effect on people who are dealing with us from the outside looking in, as it were.
Yep.
Mark Smith, have you managed to link up with us?
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I think we've got you on.
My laptop just froze and I couldn't do anything. It wouldn't let me. So I'm on my phone now.
Oh, well, that's good. I've got your video with you looking at you, but hearing you on a different line. Mark's one of those very lucky people. He's young enough to be involved with the Junior Chamber International, and in fact, I think you were president last year. Are you still president, or were you president last year?
No, last year I was one of the international vice presidents assigned to Europe. So, very turbulent time, obviously, both in terms of the pandemic, but also the Brexit stuff. In fact, if I had £1 for every time people asked me about that. It was quite good. But one of the things that JCI has been doing globally, and we're all about developing leaders for a changing world. So there's lots of different strands around business, sort of community development, individual development, that kind of stuff. Is our world president last year launched the RISE initiative, which stood for it was all about reach out and sustaining businesses with 3 strands. So one was around recognizing the economic impact of the pandemic generally. Secondly was around the health and well-being stuff and the impact, and then the third one was around sort of motivating the workforce. Now, whilst that was more pandemic related, you know, actually add Brexit to the mix, particularly in terms of, you know, the stuff in the UK and our relationship, then I think that was a really interesting dynamic. So, you know, I guess in terms of JCI world, so even though we might not be physically in the EU, JCI is always very much around, you know, being part of Europe in terms of the geography. So, you know, utilizing those connections and just making sure that we can influence as well. So a lot of our members are either employed or business startups or smaller business, but some members are running sort of big, you know, big global enterprises as well. So I think it's about connectivity, and also, again, thinking about how can we get around the challenges, and of course some of that's easier than others, but yeah, just working collaboratively, I think.
And just as a final kind of perspective from the colleagues that you speak to, particularly the ones in the European Union countries you deal with, what kind of, I mean, I've spoken to a number of people on the continent in the chamber movement, and there's almost a sense of exasperation that, you know, it's eventually happened. We never thought it was going to happen, but you know, we just need to get on with it now, I think, is what they're saying. But they wished it never happened in the first place. That was the view. That's the view I'm picking up anyway.
Yeah, definitely. And I guess, I mean, this might be oversharing, but personally, I always felt a sense of embarrassment when having those conversations, because of the view that a lot of countries, or the people that through JCI that I've spoken to, the view on the UK and stuff. But again, without being political, I suppose the stuff that's happening in America now, you know, whilst that's completely over the pond, as it were, is almost distracting some of that as well. So, you know, in terms of that perception piece, that's what I mean.
Well, yes, a lot of the UK decision making was tied in with essentially was a relationship, or an economic relationship, with the United States. Actually, nothing's changed in that respect. And let's hope things can get a little bit better and we can start to open up. We're going to have to talk to the rest of the world, just as we're going to have to continue dealing with the European Union, but on slightly different terms. Is there anybody else that would like to? I'm not seeing any hands up at the moment, but if there's anybody who wants to kind of join. Andy Rogers, do you want to just come in for a bit?
Well, just to say, I suppose to follow on from Steve's point, and so for people who don't know, we run a financial planning business, so we give advice to personal clients and corporates around, you know, financial planning basically. So we are obviously UK based and advise in the UK, and just talking to my clients generally, and it's early days, but as a whole, the feeling was there shouldn't be a great deal of difference with the corporate clients. There was no, you know, we do our review meetings in 2020, no one was saying, oh God, Brexit, we're going to fear in it. We're expecting our profits to drop by half. So and that's very anecdotal, I know, but you know, I've not seen any massive impacts, but again, I'm not exporting or importing, and my clients aren't saying to me there's massive impacts, but you know, it's early days, isn't it? So that's just kind of following on from Steve's point, really.
I think my kind of knee-jerk response to that would be, where you've got the larger corporates, they have the facility, they have the resources to be able to handle this, and they have access to certain information and various other resources that, if you like, ordinary businesses, which are the meat and drink of the chamber of Chamberland. I mean, you know, 90% of our businesses fit into the SME category and probably employ less than 20 people.
Yeah,
and they're the businesses really that don't have the resources and the capacity to deal with stuff on a day-to-day basis.
no,
Certainly,
and
that's They're the
some
kind of people that we deal with on a day-to-day basis.
And a lot of my clients would fit into that category as well, and they're not, and it's early days, kind of not sort of saying to me, "Oh, we're panicking about our profits and all the rest of it in 2021." But again, it's early days.
Well, I don't know. I don't think anybody's. I've certainly not come across anybody that's panicking. I think there is a certain exasperation of the amount that people have got to do to maintain the levels of compliance that are now required, and whether they've got the capacity and indeed the information, the right information to be able to do that. I suppose that's where the chamber can come in and help with advice and support and guidance, and on some of the the training and everything else that we are providing where we can. So and we'll continue to do that, obviously, because we're here really. Angela, you've got your hand up. Thank you. You want to come in? Want to unmute, Angela? Did you have your hand up? Or no? Oh, sorry. Saw a hand up in the bottom corner. Well, on the basis that I'm now looking that there's nobody else with a hand up, it's about 10 to 10. Unless anybody's got anything further to add, I'm going to draw this to a conclusion. Just thank everybody for taking the time this morning. You know where we are, and indeed we know where you are as well. So we'll send on all the relevant information from this morning to everybody that's been participating in it. If what we've talked about, if there's anything in there that is of interest to you, particularly in terms of the funded training and any of the other sessions that we're doing, please keep in touch with us. If you just want a simple conversation with either myself or any of my colleagues at the chamber, we hopefully are always available for you, and you know where to find us, so please stay in touch. I think just in terms of the commercials, have we got a session next week, Guy, that or is the one the week after that? I think in February, first week in February.
First week in February, a general networking for exporters.
What's the date of that one? Just remind me.
I think it's the 9th.
9th of February. It's all the details, as they say, are on the chamber website. So please feel free to access that. Again, thanks for everybody for taking part this morning, and for those of you who've contributed, thank you for that. And stay safe, look after yourselves, and take care. And I'll catch up with you next time. Thank you all very much.